Hi, my name is Ragnar and I welcome you to a new episode of Horror Trip. You know why Alien, and I'm talking specifically about part 1, the one without an S at the end, is such an enormous achievement in cinema history? Science fiction was hugely popular during the 60s and the 70s.
Yeah, Oscar. Yes, I bet you have.
Just like horror was equally in the vogue during the 60s and the 70s. And although we've seen many things that could be described as horrifying in science fiction, not always voluntarily, it still took Hollywood until 1979 until Ridley Scott came to the realization that, because in space no one can hear you scream, that sci-fi serves as the perfect setting for a slasher movie. Now, when that happens, when two established genres, each with a long history behind them, engage in such a marriage, it usually takes a few tries and courageous missteps until someone gets it right. But with Alien, the first gothic horror film to be set in space, Ridley Scott pretty much nailed it right on the first attempt. The foreboding atmosphere aboard the Nostromo and the ominous L426 moon that was directly inspired and openly pays homage to classic haunted house movies, the visual style and production design of the miner ship that's basically a floating oil refinery, but that comes across as a gigantic gothic cathedral drifting through space, just after Ridley Scott's vision, a place of industrial beauty as well as of absolute isolation, with all the perfectly conjointed individual aspects from the subliminal sound design over the tactfully slow and suspenseful build-up of tension and mystery to, of course, the true star of the movie, the Xenomorph. Designed and created by the Swiss surreal artist Hans Rudolf Giger, or internationally better known as H.R. Giger, the alien is both a thing of absolute beauty as well as a relentless killing machine. It plays on primordial fears associated with birth and reproduction, abjection and dehumanization in the viewer. The Xenomorph is openly predatory, while subliminally, everything about it is deeply filled with sexual symbolism. A parasitic life form without a womb that forcefully impregnates hosts of other species through oral rape until the larva reaches the infant stage and viscerally bursts out of the chest of its host, killing them painfully in the process. A creature like that, the epitomization of body horror that degrades humans to defenseless organs of a merciless breeding process, it just seems too perfectly tailored to be the purest screen incarnation of primal fears and terror to be real. But what if I told you that Mother Nature has brought forward animals that let the Xenomorph look like a mere side note in terms of recklessness and predatory cruelty? What if I showed you a species which actually exists that shares a striking resemblance with the alien in almost every biological detail? Ladies and gentlemen, the ichneumon wasp. The Ichneumonidae are a eusocial, endoparasitic insectoid life form, which means their entire society is centered around the cooperative breeding care for a single fertile queen. In such a colony, labor is divided among different castes of adult individuals into reproductive and non-reproductive tasks, including workers, warriors, and soldiers. While the workers construct and cultivate the nest, and the warrior drones defend their queen against all enemies, foreign and domestic, the queen keeps busy producing fertile eggs which the soldiers inject into the body of a host of a foreign species, like butterflies, beetles, bees, and ants, and even spiders. Some ichneumoniid species let their chosen hosts grow and develop, while others capture and permanently paralyze them, keeping them alive and conscious, while the larva thrives and grows and feeds on them from the inside. This goes on for days until they reach the infant stage, which is when they hatch, by forcefully bursting out of their host like a chick out of an egg. And after that, they eat him up, still alive and aware. And what do you know, the ichneumon wasp is even known to have an extremely aggressive acidic blood that is capable of etching through solid steel. Okay, that last bit was made up. But the fear of insects, entomophobia, is one of the most common and deeply rooted phobias in humans. It's the #1 reason why insectoids are so popular for character designers when inventing fear-inducing villains in fiction. And that is why it makes so much sense that Geiger's Xenomorph is based off of a wasp family that is so famous among biologists, naturalists, and even philosophers for their grisliness and apparent cruelty, at least from a human perspective, that it even led Charles Darwin to conclude the non-existence of a benevolent god. Design a horror antagonist after such a species with the surreal and disturbing art style of an H.R. Geiger, and what you get is almost naturally predestined to become an unforgettable horror film icon that even Disneyland isn't safe from. Whatever. Thank you for watching. My name is Ragnar, and I'll see you next time on Horror Trip.
Baby, my heart's on fire. If you refuse me, honey, you lose me. Then you'll be left alone. Oh, baby, telephone and tell me I'm your own.